Welcome to the Code, Deploy, Go Live podcast, episode 20. I'm Andrew Connell, and I'm here with Julie Turner. If you want to watch this episode as a video, head over to our YouTube channel. You'll find the link in the show notes. In this episode, we shared our thoughts on the most recent Microsoft Ignite 2025 conference with a focus on where we spend most of our time. Or I guess you probably could have called this the Microsoft Agents AI, Agents AI, Agents AI, Agents AI, Agents AI 2025 Fall Conference. Well, here we go. This episode is recorded live November 24th, 2025. Mrs. Julie Turner, how are you this fine day?
That's just one heck of an intro. I'm good. I'm hanging in there. I did all the things I was supposed to do today, so I'm ready to go. Ready to start.
Good. That's awesome. Awesome.
What you been up to?
Oh my God. Well, my goal today, we're recording this the Monday before Thanksgiving in the United States. And we are, and we're doing that because I normally record on Thursdays, which is Thanksgiving in the United States. And the following week is when we're releasing it, when it's going to be the middle of the ESPC conference in Dublin. And so I'm like, we got to get this done early in the week because I'm kind of in the mode of, well, my goal today is I've still got to set up my end of the year sale, which starts on Friday and goes all through next week. So by the time you hear this, the sale will be going on. But I'm kind of in the mode of demos ready for my workshop at the conference. Still got to get a few other things done before I go. Doing a presentation tomorrow in a community call, doing a webinar tomorrow. I'm trying to transition from hair on fire to pants on fire by the end of the day today. And then maybe by the end of the day tomorrow, I will then transition from pants on fire to chair on fire. And so I can at least walk away from the flames. So it's been nuts. But so like in the last few days, like I've been, I released, in our last episode, we talked about the 1.22 coming.
Yeah, we
release.
did.
So by the time this episode comes out, I think the GA is supposed to be out of 1.22. We'll see. Things change. All the docs that I referenced last time in our show, those are all done and they're published and they're live. So around like customizing the tool chain and such. I am going to do a webinar that I'm going to host later in December where I'm going to detail all that stuff. So subscribe to my newsletter if you want to keep in touch with that. I relaunched a 2-week SharePoint framework webinar workshop that I've done in the past. I did it as a 1-week workshop before, broke it up into 2 weeks because I was trying to cram too much into 3 days. So I'm like, let's break it up into 2 weeks, give people the option to say, I just want the basics or I want to do basics plus some other stuff. And I launched a new workshop actually today, the day we're recording, around building apps and tabs inside of Microsoft Teams, because I think it's a pretty natural place to build enterprise apps and to host them if your organization is using Teams. And so I will be, by the time this episode comes out, I will be right in the thick of it with my end of the year sale where everything is 30% off. It'll be one of my biggest sales I do. You'll have already missed the 42% off because, hey, I'm developers. I sell developers, so you should know what 42 is. So there was a 42% off on everything for the first 24 hours, but that's gone by the time you hear this. So yeah, that's what's been up with me. And I'm just racing, trying to get everything else done right now.
That seems like a lot of work.
It's a lot's done behind me and stuff is kind of going fairly smooth. So I'm a little surprised, pleasantly surprised.
Nothing wrong with smooth. Like it.
No, you can see though, it's the fire's been burning for quite a while because it's like it's not much up top.
I feel you.
Yeah. So
I feel you.
I asked you what you've been up to, didn't I?
It's sort of, yes.
What have you been up to? Do you have anything else to share with us, Julie?
No, I mean, not necessarily. I ranted last week about having to write PowerShell for some client stuff that I was doing. I solved all of that and got the PowerShell working. It was harder than I expected to get it all to coordinate and work together, but I got it all working. It turns out you cannot use, I freaking love them. You can't use managed identity with PowerShell Exchange Online Management Shell in Azure Functions. You can only use it in Azure Runbooks or Azure VMs. Yes, Andrew, that was my face too. So when I saw managed identity, I guess I dismissed the fine print or whatever and was like, oh, all right, I'll be able to do this managed identity. No, I will not. And so I had to go down the certificate route and all the fun that is. And now staring at it knowing that I have to make sure that I handle that in 2 years for this client, because it's one of those clients where they don't have any on-prem expertise, right, for any of this. So it's not like I can delegate that responsibility. So I've got it in my own calendar in 2 years to reach back out to this client and be like, hey, just need to quickly jump in and fix your certificate so this will keep running, because Microsoft can't possibly support a regular graph endpoint for getting org contacts. That couldn't happen.
Apparently, there's something about that. And they're like in this big transition on the exchange. I ran into this with one of my coaching clients. So they're in this big transition of like the Exchange web services over to Graph for a bunch of stuff. And there was a bunch of gaps that they didn't realize they had that were going to impact my client. So I worked with the Exchange team a little bit and trying to help understand and to bridge that gap and make the Exchange team aware of the fact that there were these gaps they didn't know about. I'm working with another one now where you have to, what is it? Something about like you can't create a service principal in Exchange Online. Like you have to do something special to create the service principal just for Exchange Online.
Yes, that's correct. Yep, I figured that out. Yes.
Okay. And so apparently that's being addressed as well. So like they're hopefully maybe before 2 years that things may be cleaner than that. But I don't know. I mean, it has nothing to do with AI in the name, so they're not going to focus on it.
Exactly. And the problem here is like missing functionality, right? Like in the graph, you can get org contacts. It's not documented, but you can. Like /v1/contacts actually gets you Exchange organizational contacts, which is the contacts you can make in Exchange server, versus the contacts for me. Like if I go in my personal account and create a contact, like a mail contact in my, contacts, that you can get to with Graph. That's no problem. But organizational contacts that your org makes at the highest level, you can actually get a list of those with Graph. Cool. Except you can't create them. You can't update them. You can't remove them. And you can't modify a mail distribution list with the Microsoft Graph. So with the Microsoft Graph, you can only affect security groups, not mail distribution groups. So all of those functions that I just told you, I had to do with PowerShell, which meant that I had my Azure functions running great, and I have to just essentially drop an item on a queue to have it go run a separate PowerShell script to do that stuff. And it's and this is what I was saying, and this is why I was like, I feel dirty. It's just it's ugly, and it's not something I want to do. And then when the auth story ended up being, and not only that, but you have to essentially lower your security barrier on that to create a certificate because you can't do it with managed identity. I'm just like, wow, okay.
Yeah.
Great job.
I remember that was another thing that my client was running into because they were dealing with the distribution lists, and the only way they could deal with the distribution list or to explode the distribution list to see everybody that was like in nested pieces of it, because they had to send individual ones, was to use PowerShell. And I'm like, no, there's got to be a better way than this. And of course they found out like, no, there actually isn't. Like, I'm shocked. And they're like, yeah, we were too, but we're not anymore. I'm like,
yeah, because it's groups/members or whatever. Nope, doesn't work. I'm just like,
so it's funny because one of the guys that used to write the part of the Graph REST API around, he was involved in the team that did a lot of stuff around the ECM stuff.
Mm-hmm.
He's no longer with Microsoft, and he's working for another client right now, or he's working for another company right now. That is one of my coaching clients that we're kind of talking through some stuff. And it's like hearing some of the stuff he said, and I'm like, well, maybe you could do this. He goes, no, you can't do it. I'm like, are you sure? And he goes, yeah, I was the one that actually was involved in writing that. I'm like, oh, why are we on the call? But
anyway, yeah. So
awesome. Well, I'm sorry you're dealing with that.
It's
hopefully
done now.
The PowerShell stuff.
It feels gross. It's done. It's deployed. The client is thrilled, but not really what you want to have done. So
I will.
Anyway,
I was going to send you the get well soon card, but you sound like you've already got the chicken soup and you're good.
I do.
It's over.
My adaptogens right here.
There we go. Well, you ready to dive into it today?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. So, had an idea for today. I know it's an original idea because I'm sure everybody else that's a podcaster is doing this. In fact, I'm on this back channel of on WhatsApp for a bunch of people that are going to the ESPC conference. There's a bunch of other podcasters that are up there, and it's funny because I told them, like, somebody's like, "Oh, I can't wait to meet you. I wish we were meeting Julie. I feel like I know you guys from watching the show." I was like, I wish she was joining us. But it's kind of funny because in a few minutes we're going to figure out what we're going to talk about, and we're kind of going back and forth. What are you going to talk about? I don't know what we're going to talk about. What do you want to talk about? I don't know. It's like, well, I guess we got to talk about.
Do you have an idea?
Ignite. And sure. And I'm like, does anybody else know what this is like? And all these other podcasters jumped in like going, yep. I'd never heard that. Nope. That's not at all what we do.
Sympraxis on Wednesday is going to be an Ignite recap as well. So there you go.
I mean, you kind of have to, right?
Yep, you do.
So I thought then, I mean, we're not going to try and go like super deep with this. I've done in the last couple of years, I've written like this big recap of everything an M365 developer needs to know, but I don't know, like this year is Ignite is just super thin when it comes to development stuff for developers. So, or at least on the 365 side.
I'm just going to be friggin' negative. Not only that, but you write the recap and a fifth of it happens and they change their mind or whatever. I don't know what the longevity is of going deep in any of this stuff until it actually hits preview or hits GA.
Yeah.
Just going to say that.
Yeah,
you're say that negative thing.
Wrong. Yeah, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. I mean, we're conditioned with that, so it's not too much out of the question. So what I thought we'd do is we're going to run through and share some stuff. We're not going to do, this is not a gigantic, exhaustive recap of everything. We're going to hit some of the high stuff, and we're going to focus, like I said we're going to say in the intro, is that I really want it to be about like what is stuff that you and I are, where we spend our time. And what we can speak intelligently about. And then from there, there's a lot more stuff. Now, we'll tell you, we have a couple links that are going to be in the show notes. Most of it pretty much, though, is just going to be like, go look at the book of news. The online book of news, there's like 4 ways you can look at it. Literally, it's like 4 modes. You can look at it just normal mode, which is just this giant, like never-ending scrolling thing that allows you to look at all of the big things that they covered at the conference. But one of the nice, and so you can do that. There's links to like blog posts, there's links to sessions, all that kind of stuff. It's really good. And they've done this for years. But this year they did something different, and they added these things called instant summaries. Now, this is actually kind of cool. So at the top, these are the other 3 ways you can look at it. At the top, you can choose to be either a journalist, a technical decision maker, or a builder, and then you can turn on the instant summary. And effectively what it does is, instead of going through and giving you this big section of everything that's about that one announcement, they go through each of the sections, and you've got like a chunky paragraph that explains what is this from like a high level thing. So what's nice, I really like this because it was allowing me to very quickly scan what I wanted to go back and look at. I mean, as an MVP, we get access to the book of news usually the day before or a few days before. And I go through the whole thing. I did it this time, just trying to see like, what do I want to look at? What sessions do I want to look at? What things do I want to go read up on? And when I saw the online one come out, I just ignored it. But then when I heard about the instant summaries from somebody else talking on a podcast, I was like, oh, this is actually kind of cool. So now like getting it ahead of time is just like a teaser, but now it's not so much as important. So the first thing that I want to touch on, which this is a BFD for a lot of people, is, and I haven't played with this yet. I haven't had a chance to look in my tenant if it's there, because again, what I said earlier, trying to transition from hair on fire to pants on fire, is Security Copilot. That has been something you pay for separately as an organization, and it's something like $4 per hour per user in your tenant. And so like all told, just getting into it is something like $3,000 a month or $100,000 a year is what any organization is going to be kind of looking at with this. And so most people weren't using it. The big change they made for this is that now if you have an E5, Security Copilot is included with your E5.
Oh, all right, cool.
And it's it is pretty impressive what it does. I've never used it, again, because of the pricing things, but a good friend of mine, of ours, that runs one of the co-hosts of the Microsoft IT Pro podcast, Ben Stedgink, he has done some presentations and demos on it and stuff. He does pay for it, but he turns it on like for about 3 or 4 days before a conference, gets some data, takes the screenshots and everything, and then shuts it back off and then explains to everybody what it does, unless he's got a client that uses it.
Okay.
So it is pretty cool because it does do a lot of like live checking of things that are going on in your tenant. There's a bunch of others. There was a big focus at Ignite this year around security, which I haven't looked really in depth on this, but I've heard on like some of the dev stuff is that you can hook it up with GitHub Copilot, or GitHub can hook up with Security Copilot. I'm not sure how you say it.
No.
But it can like look at your code. It identifies like known vulnerabilities. It proactively will go through and let you know stuff more so than like the Dependabot or those other things that we have on like PRs and stuff. So it's pretty slick. The fact that they moved this down to E5s, you have apparently like a certain amount of capacity that you get for that. And if you need to go above and beyond that, then it's something like $6 per hour per user on top of that. So if you're a small organization, Security Copilot is now accessible to you if you have E5s.
Yeah.
And so more people will use it. So we'll probably see a lot more people talking about it. And if, like a friend of mine is in the security space at Microsoft and says it's just like what the stuff they're doing around security and AI is like a game changer.
Huh. I'll have to check it out. We have it in our we have E5s in our Sympraxis tenant, so I'll definitely go check it out. See what Todd Clint is up to. I'm sure that he's being nefarious, so I'll have to check it out.
There we go. Yeah, there's a whole section in the book of news. I think it's way down in, well, let me find it really quick because I did see it earlier. Section 5, nested pretty deep there, about 2/3 of the way down.
Yeah,
it does dive into it. So it's good.
Yep. Nice. All right, cool.
Okay. So when it comes to 365, you saw something. We started talking about it before the show, and I was like, I don't want to say anything because I want to talk about this on the show and get it recorded and not answer for you. So why don't you share what you saw, and I can kind of share what I think how I think I understand this.
Yeah, that first one was it's the agents. Excuse me, the Microsoft Agents 365 SDK is apparently this control pane you can add into your agents or whatever. And when I first read it, I was like going in and I'm like, okay, wait, Microsoft Agents 365 SDK. And I'm like, let's just make sure they didn't rename anything. Does this mean this? You know, an SDK, as I understand the term SDK, like a software development toolkit where you can install a piece of software and it's sort of a helper solution, or are they trying to rename the agent's toolkit yet again? So I was just having a moment where I was like, what is this? For sure, what is this? So anyway, I thought we should talk about that a little bit.
So this is a little bit of my fault because the note that I put in our show notes, I think I threw you around the corner and didn't fix my note because when you started talking about it, I was like, oh shoot, I typed that wrong. So we'll have a link to this in the show notes, or actually a couple of them blog posts. So let me kind of explain like what they've done and the naming for this. I know this is going to really shock you, Julie, but the naming sucks.
Well, that's what I'm basically saying. I'm like, are we sure? Are we sure they know what the word SDK means? Because not always.
Okay, so a couple things with this. So first of all, we're actually talking about two very different things. And if you listen to what I'm about to say and you listen to the order of the words and the plurality of them, you will notice a difference.
Okay.
We have something called the Microsoft 365 Agents SDK.
Mm-hmm.
That is the thing that is the successor to the bot framework that was released GA back at Build 2025 and was teased up about a year ago at Ignite 2024. This is the thing. That's the thing. So I'm just going to refer to it shorthand. The Agents SDK, notice plural, is what we would use to build bots, chatbots, message extensions, and teams. Or if we're going to build any kind of a bot or an agent that is going to leverage multiple channels.
Okay.
From the bot service. So. Yep. I could use it to build a bot for Teams. I could use it to build a message extension for Teams, but that's only one channel. Communication vehicle, not Teams channel, but that's only one channel that the bot service understands for the communication. But other ones include like web chat, Facebook Messenger or Meta Messenger, Facebook Messenger, whatever, Twilio, Slack, all those different ones that we have, SMS. So that's one. And that is the thing that I've complained about a bunch on the show, where the story about using that versus using the Teams SDK, which we used to call the Teams AI, well, which they used to call the Teams AI V2 library,
right?
Which they, oh my God, footnote on that. Well, I'll come back to that in a second. That is primarily if you are building something for Teams and you want to take advantage of Teams specific stuff like streaming chat. That's a Teams thing. That's not another kind of thing. Or supported by other channels. So, and as a footnote on that whole thing, they republished the same blog post when they announced the Teams AI library back in May. They just simply updated the date, and some of the things in there still referred to it as the Teams AI library. And they were like, hey, look, it's a GA. And I'm like, hey, just Mr. Senior, like VP of engineering here, just to let you know, you as a company renamed this 3 weeks ago to the Teams SDK. And that picture that you're using that says Teams AI V2, yeah, that's the everybody back in May over the entire summer until we fought like crazy and we won the battle and you guys caved, you changed the name of it. So good job on using the old name for, oh, by the way, the links you're using are still pointing to the old links that are 404s because you can't do a redirect on a GitHub URL because you didn't put your docs in Learn. Anyway, sorry, I might have just ranted a bit. The other thing that is part of the news is that they now have, again, notice the order of my words. They now have a thing called the Microsoft Agent 365.
I just can't.
Not the Microsoft 365 Agents SDK. So we have the Microsoft 365 Agents SDK, which we use that for building agents or custom engine agents or chatbots or message extensions that are going to be used across multiple channels, including Teams. We also have the Microsoft 365 Agents Toolkit, which is a Visual Studio Code extension, a Visual Studio extension, and a CLI. And now we have the Microsoft Agent, singular, 365. So what is that? This is the big thing they're going crazy on.
Agent
Nope.
365
No
SDK. No, it says that right on the screen I'm looking at right now. Install the Agent 365 SDK. So,
okay, so that is for talking to the Microsoft Agent 365. And what that is, that's not to build anything like agents or anything like that.
I thought that's what we were talking about. Okay, so now there's something else called Agent 365. Got it.
Well, no. Before it was the Microsoft 365 agents, and now it's the Microsoft Agent 365.
Mm-hmm. They don't put Microsoft in front of it in this docs, but yeah.
Right. They refer to it as Agent 365.
Okay. Yep.
Right. So in the book of news, I'm referring to 1.1 or 1.1 or more, going a little bit deeper. Well, it's 1.1.
Oh.
What this is they're calling this a control plane, and it is a place for you to go as an administrator to have a top-down view of all of the agents that are available and those that are being used inside of your organization. Not part in Microsoft 365, but really across a lot more. And what the control is allowing you to have more visibility into what they're doing. And there's also management of the controls that they can do. Now, I'm not going to try that you can have on these things. I'm not going to try and go into depth on this and explain how this thing works, but I would recommend go look at a recent summary from the what Ben Stedging and Scott Hogue do at their Ignite wrap up podcast episode from the MSIT Pro podcast, because they talk about, like, it's basically now you have, this is going to be for like the governance of your agents, whereas Purview is like the governance of your data.
Yep. That makes total sense. Not mad at it, just mad at the name.
Yeah, right. It's just, it's so confusing. It's just so confusing. I don't know why they made it so hard.
So then I'm get to gather that the Agent 365 SDK is what you put in your agent so that it registers itself and talks to the Agent 365 governance portal-y, platformy thing, whatever.
So that's not my understanding. My understanding is that if you have an agent that you're using as a 365, it automatically is just it's going to show up inside the control plane. So without me doing anything, like it will see, like before that existed, we all built agents without it. All the existing agents that are already out there, they're already going to show up in the control plane. My understanding of the SDK is if I want to do like programmatic management of the agents that are out there and like what they can and can't do, think of it like the SDK is like an API to Purview. This is an API for the control plane, not for the agents to do things inside of them.
Well, it says to define your agent's identity and permissions. So that felt like the way that your agent can sort of plug into the Agent 365.
The way you can set the permissions, or an org can set the permissions on the agent, not how the agent can tell it the permissions it gets from the inside.
Right. No, that's what I'm basically saying. It's like, hi, I'm this guy. And then now that guy knows that it can work with the permissions of that agent. Like if you don't install it, then Agent 365 doesn't necessarily know about that agent or have as much control over it, is what I would gather. I'm just guessing based on reading this. So that the way this is one that I found really confusing, and I haven't had time to really dig into it as much. So this is one of those areas I go research and figure it out because I'm not as familiar with it. Like to me, I look at this and go, is this something I need to worry about as a developer? Or is this like an admin thing? And it's like, to me, it looks like an admin thing, but I could be wrong. Yeah, I'm just reading the section on how to get started from one of the links. And when you read those 5 points, it feels like the SDK is the thing that says, okay, this agent now has set itself up to have the hooks that Agent 365 can like communicate with it or handle it or manage it or, all of the things. That's the vibe I'm getting from it. But I don't know that. I'm just reading 5 bullet points and guessing. So
yeah. Okay. Yeah. Well, something to go read up on and get research on. Yeah. But
there is a video there, so maybe if we took the time to watch that video, we might know more.
I saw that they did do 2. They had 2 breakout sessions for it. So yeah. Okay. That's one.
Cool.
Do you want to bring us to the next one?
The Copilot API one, you mean? Yeah, this one is interesting. So the Copilot API being GA now, which is yay. So there's the retrieval API. We've talked about that before on the show. It's now generally available. And there's a chat API that's now in public preview, which is cool. And then there's a search API that's in public preview. And so the link that we're going to put in the show notes has like all the details on each one of those. What I gather though from the retrieval API is it's essentially letting you get access to content on OneDrive and SharePoint, permission trimmed context, etc., to allow you to do your own orchestration, build your own RAG against SharePoint OneDrive data. What is still missing from all of this is the metadata, right? So, and they sort of talk about that in the search API. That's the one, the Sympraxis team anyway, that's the one we're watching the most, right? Granted, this is, for building your own custom Copilot, et cetera, but from the Copilot in the platform perspective, the SharePoint, the Sympraxis group, et cetera, is mostly like, we do all this setup for content types, metadata, IA, information architecture, and the fact that Copilot essentially ignores all of that information architecture at this point makes it ridiculously useless, like kind of sad. So it's so essentially these are tools that are going to allow you to build your own. I have to say that I am not, being able to build your own RAG type of solution, I have to feel like if it were me, I would be able to orchestrate pulling metadata about that content and augmenting that into just using regular graph APIs as agents. Do you know what I'm getting at?
Yeah. I think that they're going to get there because it wasn't until Ignite, like one of the things they did announce, I saw at Ignite, was that they now metadata from like document libraries and lists and stuff is now part of Copilot has access to that stuff.
Yeah, but it's not what you'd want it to be. You know what I mean? It's
really?
not like it's not full fidelity from what we can understand. So we're just sort of waiting on that. And it's not lists, and I don't know. We'll have to see. Like, yes, they said it's there, but is it really there? And then if you're looking at the search API being in public preview, results include file links, previews, and optional metadata. Well, that is a loaded statement for very little information. I hope it includes all metadata about the file in the context of the file in a document library, right? And all the metadata you can add to it. Would that include the content type? I don't know. I would hope so.
Maybe. Is it optional for us to get it, or is it optional for them to give it to us?
This is what I'm saying, Andrew. It is not very obvious what you're getting. And this is only for the search API. They're not saying anything about whether this is for... So if you read the section on retrieval API is now generally available, there's nothing in there that says metadata is included. So if you're building your own orchestration, right, to do resource augmented generation with this data, and you're using this retrieval API, what are you going to get? If you're just going to get document IDs, it feels like maybe you would want to build a tool that's part of your solution that essentially said, go get me metadata and drive item IDs that the metadata matches what I'm looking for, and then cross-reference those drive item IDs against whatever the retrieval API gives you for drive ID. Do you get what I'm saying? Like, we're going way deep in the weeds, but it feels like I'd want to be able to like coalesce those two if this retrieval API isn't going to do that for me.
Yep.
And if it's not going to do it for me, why?
Well, I would suspect that it's still like, because they're working on it, it's getting there, because like these APIs were mentioned at Build for the first time.
Oh, yeah.
And retrieval was the one that was the closest to where we could start playing with it. The other two, chat and search, were like private preview coming later. So it looks like they all kind of advanced one stage where retrieval is now GA. Retrieval is actually the way that Copilot Studio accesses the semantic index. So whereas with like the first party agents, they go straight to the semantic index, whereas Copilot Studio has to go through retrieval API to do this. So there's definitely more to dive into there, and when like what scenarios are going to make sense for this. But yeah, I think that this is one of those areas. There's a lot of interest here, and I think that this is also a really good opportunity for Microsoft to have a big moat around their investments in 365 and around what they've done with AI, because I mean, that semantic index of having all the content staying in 365 and being indexed into the semantic index, these other AI providers like ChatGPT or Anthropic or these other ones that say, hey, we can connect to SharePoint data. I'm like, okay, you can, but you're not getting you're not querying it for the semantic index. You're finding what content is going to be relevant. You're pulling it out, and then you're indexing it semantically on your side. So you're doing it in the order you don't want to do it in.
Yeah. I can't even tell you the number. We're a smaller firm, and the number of clients who are reaching out to us going, yeah, I've just bought or signed a contract with this external AI solution, and they need access to my tenant. So can we just give that to them? I'm like, wow, why are you doing that?
I'm having the exact same conversation with one of my coaching clients. I did the exact same thing where they're using a different service. They're also using Copilot, but they're using a different service. And part of that different service, they decided that they were going to, they were just going to go say like, I want this service to have full access to everything inside of our tenant. I'm like, just, can we talk about what you're doing here? Because it's not going to have the same kind of access you already have with Copilot.
Right.
If that's like a task management, project management specific solution, you ought to use their AI for that piece of it, and then use Copilot for everything else you already have in your tenant. Like, no, I want to go the other way. And I'm like, I mean,
yeah. I mean, Andrew, I think we can make this an entire episode, but to like add one more little bit to this, there's also the aspect of, and this got highlighted with a client that I was just working with, because the client said, oh, this AI firm wants to have a username and password that has read-only access to all the SharePoint sites in my tenant. And I went, okay, but you do understand that security, well, first, that security paradigm is horrible. Like, no, we're not doing that. We're not opening up your entire tenant with a username and password, even with the MFA or device code flow. We're not doing that. But B, that's against the terms of service. And so I'm fearful that there are organizations out there that either don't understand or move too quickly or do not have educated enough developers that are understanding that auth method is not okay as far as the Microsoft's terms of service. And they really need to look at an app permission-based OAuth 2 flow to be getting at that data. And I think there's a disconnect. And I'm not trying to say it's malicious. I actually don't think it's malicious. I think it's organizations who are building these AI tools not understanding that flow is not okay.
Yeah, it's ignorance. It's not a bad thing.
Ignorance.
It's just
yeah.
Yeah. We had the same conversation. I had the same conversation with one of my clients about it. The same thing where we were having the same discussion, and I'm like, look, if you do that, you do realize that you're so big on data security, but you do recognize that this big M365 security and compliance boundary that you have with Purview and everything that you've already planned on doing with your company, you do realize that by doing this is the equivalent of having a great security system and a great deadbolt system on your house and make sure nobody can get in. You do realize that you basically just kind of cut a hole on the sidewall and just left a curtain up and just said, you can go through that way when you need to get access to stuff. Like, it just bypasses everything.
Yeah.
It's like, that's not.
Yeah, that's the security piece of it. And then there's the whole, like, the terms of service, like, against that, like, which is a whole other set of ball of wax I wouldn't want to get involved with right now.
Not to mention, is this just a good idea or is it a bad idea?
Yeah. Well, and
it's
then
definitely an idea.
And then go back to it's not even going to give them the level of excellence that they could get by just doing it a different way. And I think we should have, and then I should stop there. We'll have that conversation the next time. All right.
Okay.
Go ahead. Let's move on.
We could do it. So anyway, the APIs, the Copilot APIs, they've made some advancements. They're moving along, and it'll be interesting to see what people end up doing with these. So they got some good stuff in that article. We'll have a link to it in the show notes. The session that I was looking forward to, frankly, one of the few that I've actually really dug into, was a session by three people we most of us know, four people because I was so deep into this stuff for the last few months. So Rob Howard, Sebastian Levier, sorry, Seb, if I messed that up.
Just call him Seb.
Seb, yeah. Paolo, and who did a demo with the Copilot APIs.
Oh, nice.
And a guy named Matt Barber. And Matt is one of the main engineers, owners of the Microsoft 365 Agents SDK. Nope, we're not going to revisit it. But I'm just saying that he's one of the main guys for that. So this session was a lot about, I was interested in the declarative agents aspect to this.
Mm-hmm.
As a footnote, you can see there was a big change at Microsoft. Contoso apparently has gone under. It's been acquired by somebody called Zava. So now Zava has taken over Contoso for all of our demos. So the big thing, sorry, Julie.
I'm just remembering the story that we heard about Contoso. Never mind.
Oh,
okay, keep going.
Yeah. So what the big things that have happened with declarative agents. So these are the agents that you can build using the Visual Studio Code in the Microsoft 365 Agents SDK. And you would do it with like text files, JSON. If you're creating a custom REST API, you're going to be using YAML or JSON as well to define your open API descriptor document, or Swagger files, a lot of people call it. So for this, there were four main things that have been updated. It's been hard to find some info on some of these because I'm taking what I've seen. Hopefully this changes by the time this episode comes out. But from what I've seen is that some stuff is still rolling out. Some stuff you have to have the magic decoder key and talk to the person to find out what the decoder key is to actually be able to play with this. Okay. So for just one of them. So here's what they did. So first of all, when you build a declarative agent today, you can have custom actions. So basically you can point to a REST endpoint. And the way that that's done is that in the REST endpoint is advertised through a YAML file, through the OAD file that says this function called get customers calls this API. It supports HTTP GET. It has these parameters you can put on the query string. Here's the shape of the data you're going to get back. Here's the description of it, blah, blah, all that kind of stuff. It explains all that as it comes back. And then in the declarative agent, we would create what's called a plugin manifest that would say, here's the name of a function. When you get data back, map that data that you get from the REST API to this adaptive card to get pretty renderings, and here's how you call it and all that kind of stuff. So, and then in your manifest, you would say, for your agent or for your plugin manifest, you would say, this function get customers that I've defined using this adaptive card maps to this runtime, which is the OpenAPI descriptor file, which is telling the orchestrator, here's how you call the endpoint. And inside the descriptor file, it has a matching function with the same name.
Is it?
All right. So what they've done is they've added in the ability now to where those functions, instead of me saying my function, this REST API, now I can point to this function calls this tool on an MCP server.
Oh.
So now we can call MCP servers.
Okay. That's cool.
So today it's not like what a lot of people see in demos, which is just point to an MCP server and just go get everything that you can get. Now it's very much this function goes with that tool.
Oh, okay.
So that's one. That's a big update. Another big update is that their support for type spec, a domain-specific language, is now GA. So they've cleaned up the templates. They were a little hairy at the beginning, but they've cleaned up the templates. They've cleaned up the language. It's a little bit easier to work with now. And what this is, and if you don't know what this is, I'll include a link to in the show notes too, because I'm doing a webinar on it tomorrow. So effectively, if you're familiar, so the shorthand, if you know what bicep is, then for Azure, not like the muscle, when you write bicep, it compiles down to an ARM template you can use for provisioning in Azure. Type spec, same concept. When you write type spec, it's a domain-specific language that will generate all of the JSON, the YAML that you would need for your declarative agent. So you get type checking, IntelliSense, as you're writing it, you get it more like error checking and stuff. It's a lot easier to work with, and you write a lot less stuff, a lot less error prone.
Nice.
So that's GA. They also have the ability for agents to call other agents. So you can have a declarative agent call another agent to have it be like its data source.
Okay.
And then the fourth one, which the other MCP is the one that everybody's been waiting for. Type spec is the one people have been really diving into this or really been waiting for.
Mm-hmm.
Agents calling other agents, that's important. But this next one is one, I heard about this one about 6 months ago, about farther back than that. So I heard about it a while ago. This is really slick. So it's called embedded knowledge. Have you seen this?
Mm-mm.
So what this is that when you create your agent, you can have, I think it's up to it's either half a gig or half a terabyte. It's one of the two. I know, big difference, but it's a lot of data. Yeah, a lot of data. And your agent now, when you deploy your declarative agent, you can have embedded knowledge in it. So PDFs. So you don't have to say to your agent, like the demo I've been doing at conferences is, here's my agent. My agent is a part-time off request agent that Mark Reckley and I do it at a conference.
Yeah.
And this agent needs to check the company policy for the PTO policy to see if you're allowed to take this thing. But that file would always be like in a document library somewhere. And I'd have to say in my agent, go look for this specific file, use this GUID. And in my instructions, I'd say, make sure you compare the request for the PTO against the policy that I've defined in there. Now what I can do is I can put that policy inside of my agent. And now when I deploy it, that policy is added to a SharePoint embedded container, and all the content gets indexed, and then it's available in the semantic index and available to just that agent to be able to get to that data. So now I can ship my own data with my orchestrator that nobody else can have access to.
I don't know if that scenario is the best one from an information architecture, governance, whatever, but the idea in general is fantastic. Like that you could collect a set of it. The reason I say that might not be the best is because you have HR redefining policies constantly. You do not want to have to update your agent and redeploy it just because policies change. That's the only reason I said that. But from the idea that your agent would be defined for a specific purpose and you would have a breadth of content that would be its base knowledge, that's pretty awesome. Yeah, that's pretty awesome.
About this first scenario. Hey, we just signed an enterprise agreement with you. We want to make sure that all of our developers had went through your SharePoint framework course or your Microsoft Teams course. Cool. Or like usually you sat through my 8-week-long accelerator course for Teams development. As part of the benefit for you going through this, I'm going to give you an agent that you can deploy inside of your tenant, and it's going to have the transcripts from the entire course already in there. So you can't go through and take my content and go use it elsewhere, but I can deploy it into your tenant and you can talk to Copilot to get answers from your experience in that, that we went through all the teaching.
Farking cool. That's pretty farking cool? Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. So it's fairly easy to go. Now there's a weird little hack. This is going to get cleaned up hopefully by the time that you see the release notes here, but apparently to get this to work in the agent's toolkit, they couldn't get it like wired up in the agent's toolkit just yet. But the code that makes it work in the agent's toolkit is there. So if you set a certain environment variable in your machine, it'll work.
That's fantastic. We should have a conversation because I have an idea for one of these too. So we'll have some conversations, see how we can figure this out. All right.
I know my good friend Seb is listening to this. So he listens to all of our shows, and I randomly get a text out of the blue when he's just apparently like when he's driving somewhere, he just starts laughing, and it's because of something you and I said. So,
all right.
Hi, Seb.
Hi, Seb.
Good job, Seb.
Hi, Seb.
There's a bunch of other stuff here about Azure and Intra. Do you want to go through this stuff, or do you think is there too much to go through?
It's a lot, and I can't say I do a lot with much of this, but we can hit on them if you have anything to comment on. I guess I don't. I haven't gone there. It's this custom. You're at all of this stuff is the custom. You're building custom, right? And so it's the tools to build custom, which is great and awesome and needed and for sure. But I don't do a lot with it.
It's more tooling around. Yeah, it's giving you services to do more advanced stuff when you want to build your own agents that beyond what we're doing with like 365. So like, I would say in the book of news, go read the section 3.1. All right, that's the big thing.
Yeah.
Simple stuff like it's no longer Azure AI Foundry. It's now Microsoft Foundry. Big freaking deal, guys. You should do that the first time. They now have unified MCP tools for securing and customizing agents. There's a model router so that you can let something else decide which model you're supposed to use. That's gone GA.
Yep.
They do have a Foundry agent service, so where we could build our agents and have and now there's a hosted offering to it so that now we can use it to build our agents and let it host where agents run instead of us having to go through and to do the work of hosting any of the code. Like if we did a custom engine agent, we'd be responsible for running the code somewhere else.
Right.
They did this big thing around something called like Work IQ and Fabric IQ, where all of your like business data is accessible as like knowledge to
We were joking this morning that we need to rename everything with IQ on the end of it. Somebody we know together said, why aren't we renaming it Sympraxis IQ? And I'm like, I haven't got there yet. I'll get to it.
Yeah. And hey, we already got one control plane. Now Foundry's got a control plane to help developers manage and defend agents. So there's more. Yeah. So there's a lot more to dive into. We are recording this on a Monday. The conference was over on a Thursday, and it's hard to really digest everything. Every time I say I'm going to dedicate an entire week to it. And this week, timing just sucks. It's always right before Thanksgiving.
There's no way. Well, maybe you can find a week in your schedule for that, but I can't.
It's one of those, like, it would be nice to do like an ideation kind of like go learn and geek out type thing. And so like that 1 week, like for build, I'd love to do that.
Yes. Perfect world. Absolutely. Couldn't agree more. It's just, man, finding those cycles. And everything else in the world at the same time.
I'd like to do that for Build, and I'd like to do that for the MVP Summit as like just
the MVP Summit
those
for
are
sure.
two. If I could have 2 weeks, those are the 2 weeks I'd want to do if I was going to do it with something like that.
Yep, agreed.
Okay.
Anything else?
Oh, there's a lot more, but I don't know enough about it to act like I should talk about it.
Okay.
I'm still loading up my iPad for the long trip over to Dublin.
Got it.
So, how about we do some picks?
All right. Picks it is.
Sound good?
Picks it is.
All right, Miss Turner, I'm letting you go first.
I'm going to do one that unfortunately is going to be too late for our U.S. audience after the fact, but my favorite cooking show host is back, and I'm so excited about it. Alton Brown, my absolute favorite cooking host of all time. Just, if you ever watched Good Eats, was a fan of Good Eats, he is just so science orientated, always had like chemists on and science people, and always explained the basics of the basis of why and how things and recipes were put together. It's just always been one of my favorite. He's kooky, he's corny, he's funny, really engaging. And he sort of, Good Eats ended, and he did sort of like an Instagram thing during COVID where he and his wife would do like COVID kitchen or something like that, whatever. And they made cocktails. It was funny. But he's back, and he's got a new YouTube show called Alton Brown Cooks Food. And episode 1 is a redo of his famous episode of Good Eats where he did cooking a Thanksgiving turkey. And so it's all like sciencey based and funny is all heck. Like the beginning, every scene they cut back to him, he has a different cocktail. And the 4th scene, he cuts back to the cocktail. He has 2 cocktails stacked on top of each other, and he's trying to drink that. It's just like done in the context of, and you're like, he's talking about something important while trying to drink 2 cocktails at the same time. It's just funny, right? Like it's humorous, but yet whatever. Anyway, breaks out the fans, shows you about trussing. I mean, it's just, igloo coolers are involved. It's like a whole thing. So it's real fun. It's episode 1. I cannot wait to just be all in on how he's going to. What's great too is it's YouTube TV. And what I'm finding about the people that I really enjoyed on regular television is when they're on YouTube, no hold bar. They can swear.
Yeah.
They can do product placement. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, they don't have to like say things in a right way. They're not being edited. So it's just way more fun. So anyway. So that's my pick.
That's a good pick. That's a really good pick. I like your picks. I like your YouTube picks as like an area that I don't spend as much time going in. So I love like the food stuff and everything. Is like, my son's home from college. We spent like 3 nights watching the most recent runway shows from all the fashion shows that happened at the beginning of October into September. It's like a different world I just don't know about. It's just cool at getting into.
Yeah. So that's my pick.
Good pick. Good
Thanks.
pick. So my pick is borderline bucket list for me. And I say borderline because there's something I want to do that's on my bucket list. And I'm really hesitant to even say this right now, but I'm going to say it anyway.
Why?
Because nobody's listening.
WAF.
Yeah. Well, no. She knows it's on my bucket list. She knows that I'm thinking about doing it. She doesn't know anything about doing this. So.
Okay. Well, we know she's not listening, so we're all clear. Go ahead.
You're the only one that's listening. Nobody listens to our podcast. It's just you and me. So I'm just telling you about this.
Fine. Great.
Okay.
I'm excited.
So,
what are you doing?
I hope there is a very famous racetrack, like it's death-defying racetrack, scary.
Yep. People have died.
Lots of people. And it's in I think like southwest Germany. It's called the Nuremberg Ring, otherwise known as the Ring. And next year, I'm speaking at a conference up in Cologne. I think you're going to be there too.
I hope so. I haven't heard officially.
Oh. Uh-oh. Yeah, okay. I am allowed to say it. Sorry. It's
No,
just like you're not allowed to say it.
No. You have a workshop, so you've been accepted. They haven't done. I didn't get accepted for a workshop, so they haven't
breakouts
released.
are going to still put.
Yeah, they haven't released breakouts.
So it's about an hour and a half. I realized that for me, it's going to be easier to fly in and out of Frankfurt, which is about an hour and a half train ride from where the conference is. There's other options, but
let me tell you about trains in Germany. Okay, another time. Go ahead.
So my option is I fly in and out of, well, it's either add 2 extra stops or flying an hour way into it. So I'm looking at the end of the conference, driving down, adding 1 extra day, getting up the next morning, driving down to the ring, going, and I planned on driving it, getting a coach to drive me through, let me drive and have a coach next to me and drive me or tell me how to drive and what to do. Because there's like my neighbor's done it and you can go up a hill and the guy's like, slam on the brakes and turn hard left. He goes, the turn's going to the right. He goes, no, it's not. It looks like that, but trust me, you have to go to the left. And sure enough, you get to the crest of the hill, you're like, oh my God, I'm glad I'm turning left.
Yeah.
So this one, there's this guy named Misha Shadran. I can't pronounce his name the right way. Got 2 million subscribers on YouTube. And he's got his own cars. You basically do what they're called taxi laps, which is you are a passenger and you just let him drive. And it's not cheap, but like I said, bucket list, I'll be 50, so good thing to do. And if I survive, that'll be good. But it is like, so I'm dying to do this. The thing I'm concerned about is that they don't have any spots open yet because right about a week or 2 after we're there is a 24-hour race at the ring. And so there'll be a lot of people who are competing there who are probably going to be practicing.
Oh, yeah.
And so those spots may be filled up. But I'm going to do my damnedest to get in this. And it's just like watching some of his videos. Like I wanted to drive it and then I wanted to do a taxi lap. And now I've seen people driving it. Like I've seen much of the videos of it over the last few months. I was like, I don't want to drive it.
Yeah.
I want to experience the ring.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to do it driving the way they are.
Yeah. You'd probably barely make 80 because you'd be so scared. And what would be the point? You want to experience it at the fast pace with somebody who really knows what they're doing driving.
It's that would be and the fact that yeah, that's how I'm thinking. It's part of that, but honestly, the bigger one is if you watch a couple of these and you watch how fast some of the guys are going, the rules are, you have to watch behind you as much as you watch in front of you.
Yeah.
So that you can get out of the way of the other people coming up on you. Like, no. Yeah. I want to enjoy it. I don't want to be killed because I would probably wreck.
Yeah, no, 100%. Like, I think it would be way more fun to be able to go and experience it in a passenger capacity. I feel like, and we talked about this on the other podcast we did, the Paul Hollywood Netflix car thing that he did, that Paul Hollywood is the baker for the British baking show or whatever, but he's into cars and there's a Netflix thing that he does that's like 6 seasons, 6 episodes long or whatever. And I'm pretty sure he did Nuremberg and there was like he drove it and it was like a shit show, sort of what you're saying. He did the ride along and then he drove it and it was like pretty funny. Anyway, I'm pretty sure.
I'm looking it up right now. He's apparently booked a lot of ring donuts, but I'm looking for him at the ring and I'm finding different stuff. Anyway, let's use a different
search term and moving along.
So anybody else that's a gearhead out there, the dude's got like a GT3 RS and he can take you around the whole thing, doing an entire lap and like, I think it's like a 15-minute lap, 10-15-minute lap.
Fun.
It is just sick.
Looks super fun for you. I have zero desire to do this. Zero.
I want to do it. And then I talked to one friend who's like, if you do it, don't get in the car and drive to Frankfurt and stay there and fly out the next day. Like stay in Nuremberg so you can get out of your system.
Yeah.
And then go get on the highway and drive the rest of the way to Frankfurt the next morning to catch your flight.
Yeah. Interesting idea.
So, yeah.
Cool.
Anyway.
All right.
That's it.
That's a wrap.
We stayed under an hour. Oh my God. Awesome. Good to see you, Julie.
Good to see you, Andrew.
Did you like this episode? Please like and share it with your friends. We're on YouTube, Blue Sky, and LinkedIn. You'll find all the links in the video description below. And if you have a question, head over to our site at codedeploygo.live, where you can send it in. Also, sign up for our mailing list on our site at codedeploygo.live to learn about future episodes, opportunities for listeners, and get the show notes from each episode sent straight to your inbox. We'll be back with another episode in 2 weeks.